Welcome, viewers. This is Tex of the Black Pants Legion. Now, this is an interview. I've spoken with admins, hosts, developers, and other creatives behind Space Station 13 before, and they are notoriously antisocial types who generally don't like to talk with or at people for prolonged periods of time, as they are judge, jury, and executioner on a server and can't be seen demonstrating favoritism, at least in theory. Anyways, here's how this works. I'm putting out an open call to any and all Space Station 13 admins on any public-listed servers. This call is here, so answer it. If you are interested in answering or participating in an interview about Space Station 13, its history, and your server, please respond. See the description below for an email contact. I'll try to get to you and we can set something up. That being said, this is an interview with a Space Station 13 admin. The questions are largely free-form, and the discussion does not necessarily reflect exactly the policy of the server, unless stated otherwise by the person I'm interviewing. The reason I say this is I want to encourage an admin to be frank, honest, and open about their experiences without worrying that they're shitting on their server, or prevent them from being yelled at for representing the server community in a bad way. This is a point of view, and not, I repeat, not an absolute definition of doctrine on said server. That being said, I welcome our interviewee. Please, internet person, tell me your name you wish to go by, your server, and your admin rank.
Let's see, right click, create explosion. Oh, hi everybody, it's PopeCrunch. I am from Goon Station, and I am a shitty person.
Well, in addition to being a shitty person, let me see. If you call a certain phone number in Goon Station, a certain phone number on a certain bathroom stall, and it's for a shitty bill, whose voice is that?
Well, it kind of depends on who. No, that's me. I am the voice of Shitty Bill.
Amazing.
Hey pal, got any smokes?
Now, I have to ask, first and foremost, is Shitty Bill based on anyone in particular?
Yes, actually. Have you ever seen Trailer Park Boys?
Absolutely.
Okay, Shitty Bill. We needed a space biker, and I forget who created. I think it may have been Angriest IBM. Just came up with his name, Shitty Bill, and we just immediately envisioned Shitty Bill from Trailer Park Boys blundering around some fucking diner on an asteroid in the ass crack of nowhere, and thought that is pretty great.
So here's the other question: is who incorporated Shitty Bill into the Soul lore, or was that your doing, or who helms all of that?
It's interesting you say helm, because imagine a helm with a wheel for every person on the boat, because there's no one person that really handles our demented lore. It all just kind of bubbles up organically. Somebody in our admin chat will have an idea, and we'll either just jive on it for a while and spin it out into different iterations and come up with something amazing, or Angriest IBM will turn to me and say, can we please not turn Shitty Bill into ancient Sumerian Sephiroth? And the idea will just choke to death on the vine.
So what would you say, in a word, makes Goon Station so unique?
Oh, in one word.
In as few words as perhaps possible.
Mental trauma.
This is what I agree with. So, why should a player play on your station? What makes it so interesting?
Well, the code bases are all pretty similar from what I've seen, but we consistently have a number of truly dedicated, deranged. It's constantly being polished by the sort of madmen and mad women who can reach deep enough into the screaming madness of their soul and come out with these beautiful gems. Like, we now have an admin button where we can take any object and make it an explosive replica. So if the chemist is being a turd, he's figured out, if I steal one of the one of the watering cans from the botanist, that's a much bigger beaker than the regular beaker. And he's just, every round, this dweeb just breaks into botany, freezes the botanist in an ice cube, and grabs this fucking thing. We can just make that go away by just, when he sets it down, just right click, replace with explosive replica, yes, and then the problem no longer is ours, the problem is the janitor's.
Excellent. Excellent. That is justice, I would think. I would like to see a lot more stations pursue this answer to things. So how long have you been an admin on Goon?
Oh God. It's been probably 8 or 9 years, maybe. I've been around a while. Yeah, long time.
Back when it was really kind of an off-branch of that Goon community, the Something Awful bit.
Yeah, we've kind of drifted away from that a little, because we've kind of realized that Space Station 13 isn't just a Goon thing anymore. There are other code bases, and they're pretty cool, actually. And there are some negative connotations with Something Awful community, like Hell Dump was just a big hot mess.
Yeah.
And some of Fiad's pranks get a little out of hand. So we wanted to kind of distance ourselves from that slightly. Also, the game was getting popular enough that most of our player base had never even seen the Something Awful forum. So it was no longer really reflective of the direction we wanted to take it. It wasn't really reflective of our player base, and it wasn't really reflective of the wider player base for all servers.
So being an admin for that long and seeing things change as they have, and this community becomes something altogether different, with as many branches as there are, and as you said, cool and unique and interesting branches at that. What do you think is the greatest challenge with Space Station 13 today, at least from the perspective of Goon Station?
This is definitely venturing into my opinion and not the server's opinion.
Please.
But I would say the biggest challenge that our server faces is pushback from players who are more used to the rule sets on other servers.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we have a flat blanket ban on all bigoted speech and all sexual references.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
If it happens in your pants, it doesn't belong on the server. And if if you want to cuss somebody out, great. Call them a goat-faced monkey fucker. I don't care. But you start talking about sexual orientation or race or gender or perceived gender, or any of that. No, we don't allow that here. That's a constant challenge, because we'll get people who are used to the greater internet, especially the 4chan set.
Yeah.
Who they'll use slurs as punctuation.
Well, yeah, and I think what's interesting from that is that the 4chan guys, or what was it? There's many who consider themselves, at least in their own nomenclature, the quote old fags, as it was, in their own words, and they don't realize that the Something Awful goons have been around for long before that.
The creator of 4chan actually got its start on the Something Awful forums. It was Moot used to be a very frequent poster in the anime sub forum, which I don't go into because that's just their scene is not my scene.
I understand.
And he was, the mods were like, or the mod at the time was like, we can have threads without pictures being posted. Every post, people's modems are exploding. And he just went off on his own to create boards, or pretty much all you could, what it was for was post pictures, and thus 4chan was born.
Interesting. So, ta-da. So, how do you fight special snowflakes? People who come onto your station and they think, my character is the center of the story, the crux of all events that shall follow.
Depends on my mood. Most of the time, I'll just appear as in the weird salesman outfit that doesn't scroll with the rest of the screen,
Yeah.
and just punch them in the face a couple times. Change their name to Beat Me for Prizes, or shame cube them and give the crew 1 billion credits for each tomato to the face.
You know, I'm gonna say this, and this is going off my script. I helped you test the shame cube. I was there one night, years ago, and you came on, and you said, "Who wishes to help me test something?" And everyone found somewhere else to be. And I was not recording. I was not recording. And I said, "I do." And I found myself teleported to this cube surrounded by indestructible walls, and you had put about 10,000 clunes on there. So it just scrolled by, and it was horrendous. The sound was horrible. This is the sound of the universe imploding. And then
that's great.
And then you typed, "Hold on, I'll get rid of the clunes." And you spawned about 800 bears. And then after that, you started setting off bombs trying to kill all the bears. And then the server crashed. So,
well,
my question is, from my experience, is this the PopeCrunch touch?
it really is. I mean, for any other admin, the shame cube is just you get teleported, the glass goes up, and an announcement comes up about what a fucking moron you are. When I do it, it's digital waterboarding. I mean, some people work in, some artists work in stone, others in paint. I work in profanity and anger and filth.
So you weave a texture of the profane, and you invite them to witness your madness.
Exactly, and it's the perfect venue for it. I mean, what is Space Station 13 but a game where you can beat a man to the ground with his own severed ass, and then finish him off by injecting his eyeballs with a mixture of his own vomit and the vomit of others. Also, sometimes there are clowns. In what other context would this behavior would go not only unprosecuted but celebrated?
And see, that's the thing. That kind of brings me to one of my questions I sometimes ask. But when people stream and they run their own server, their own emulated sandbox, and they let only their own friends play, and they show this as Space Station 13, the chaos you described is lost, which is an essential element, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I fundamentally don't get the no fun allowed servers.
Right.
Fuck's sake. I mean, Beyond is an engine written so that teenagers could type badly written cybersex to each other while pretending to be various anime characters. Some guy used the worst engine possible for this project to create a gas atmospheric physics simulator.
I've spoken with EX80V1, and he admits, I think with the fullness of time, that he chose poorly.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen? Oh my God, have you looked at our code? Because we do have a couple public releases. It is abominable, and that's what you have to do to get Beyond to do this shit. I mean, Tom, the guy who runs Beyond, took one look at our code. And there's a forum thread on the Beyond forums for this. He said, "Wow, that's a miracle. I can't believe it even fucking compiles."
And I think it's fucking hilarious. I absolutely think it's fucking hilarious that if you look at GitHub, one of the most popular pulls on there is Space Station 13.
Yeah, it just reaches into the soul of people. It just grabs people.
Well, it's lightning in a bottle. It's hard to replicate. You tell people about it, and they're blown away.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's nobody. If you're telling somebody the first story they've heard about Space Station 13, they will assume that you've lost your fucking marbles.
Yeah,
because just crazy shit happens constantly.
Well, and that kind of is one of the reasons why I tell people that they need to play it along with Dwarf Fortress. If Toady and his brother Croak pardon the pun, Dwarf Fortress ends. If Beyond dies, Space Station 13 fractures into 10,000 games. And that magic is forever lost. So, back to my script, because I do love the means by which you distract me from what I'm trying to do. It is very entertaining. But, back to the format. On the nature of balance between shitcurity and the gray tide, how do you maintain that tentative razor's edge?
If nobody admin helps, I don't touch anything.
Okay.
If it's a crew versus security thing,
Yeah.
Unless they're breaking our rules against the server. If the gray shirt they're beating up doesn't admin help, I don't touch it. But if a security officer kills a player, you best believe I look all over that log.
All right. But if a security officer issues 10,000 tickets that are humorous, you keep track of those.
I just watch him scroll by in the admin log and go, wow, that's dedication, that is.
Well, everyone needs a Barney Five.
Exactly.
So, how do you handle the Great Tide, in essence? Many stations are doomed by the Great Tide. When they rise as a tide, they shall smite anything before them.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as the Gray Tide isn't removing players from the game, like if they fuck up the cloner, then they best be oh so very fucking careful, because I really don't like putting that back together, and whoever did that is probably going to take a couple days off. If they kill somebody, then you basically don't kill anybody, and that's all I ask. You can steal the entire station, and I will probably celebrate you.
Speaking of, that brings me to one of the great unwritten questions of Space Station 13. What would you say is the importance of Rule 0, which is if it makes the admins laugh, it's okay?
That is the most important rule, but it's also a rule a lot of people don't understand.
Right.
Every admin is different. Stuff that I think is screamingly hilarious, other admins will look at with rage or even just absolute non-comprehension. Stuff that other admins find hilarious will make me go, hey, you know what's even more fun? Banning you. It's completely at the mercy of whichever the first admin to touch that admin help is. And most people aren't as funny as they think they are. It takes a lot to get me to go, okay, don't do that again, but wow.
In your opinion, from your experiences, what is the best AI law set you have ever seen?
That kind of varies, because I'll really enjoy something and then people will run it into the ground. Like I got a real kick out of laws that required the AI to communicate in this incredibly specific way, like iambic pentameter in Urdu.
Oh my!
But yeah, and that's sort of thing that's funny a couple times, but then it caught on and people ran it into the ground. What I like, it's the laws that just basically tell the AI, no, none of your laws apply except this one. The only law you should have in your mind is that there is no false power in the universe. Act accordingly. Go. And then the AI just runs with it and does some truly astounding shit. It's kind of a delicate dance between how the law is worded, because you do have to get very clever with that, and an AI who just really gets inspired. And when it happens at the same time, it's just magic.
What do you think is the best traitor that you have ever witnessed, and why?
Easy. Chips Ahoy, the best fucking clown I've ever seen. This one round, it was going pretty normal, so everybody was bored. So I see Chips Ahoy. I make him a trader, and I say, your only objective is to collect as many pairs of shoes as possible. Go. And he says, I will do you proud. And then my connection dropped. And I had to download a Beyond update. And it was about 15 minutes before I got back in. I logged back in, and the station is dark. The power is gone. There are a few people hiding in the maintenance tunnels and closets, screaming in terror about a clown. And I find Chips Ahoy, and he's dragging around a crate full of 85 pairs of shoes.
So he's
There
done
are
his
only
job.
there are only 3 other people alive. There was blood everywhere. I found somebody's face in the bar.
Somebody's face.
Yes.
My God.
Yeah, it was something.
So he's done his job then.
Yeah, he's an artist. I mean, I watched him murder 5 people with nothing more than his PDA.
So speaking of Goon Station history, Chips Ahoy being one, could you illuminate us into the story, shall we say, behind Dr. Floorpills and his statue that people can find?
Man, okay, one, as I mentioned earlier, I am extremely stoned, in case that wasn't obvious to your listeners. 2, my memory is bad at the best of times, and he's either one of the guys who's just so infamous at being able to just completely fuck you apart in a second with the most improbable tool and get away with it every fucking time. Or he's the guy who pretty much everybody hates. No, that's Clark's, right? Because the variable is named fuck Clark's.
Well, I'm going to say this, and I may be in the extreme minority, but I found Dr. Floorpills to be a gentleman and an asshole in equal parts.
Yes. Absolutely. Which means he fits into our merry little band of misfits perfectly.
I think so. I had a very good time talking with him. I thought he was very polite. I thought that he had a definite understanding of why his character was doing what it was doing. And then he was instructing me to insert eyeballs into his head and commence ocular surgery. And I asked him where he got the eyeballs. And he said, some kid.
Nice.
So, what is the best trader you have ever seen, other than the clown, as mentioned? When I say that, I should say, who's a regular delight as a trader?
Oh, man.
And I'm not trying to put my name in there because I suck as a trader.
Honestly, I haven't logged in as much lately. It's been a while since I logged in extremely regularly, so nothing's bubbling right up to mind.
Well, the reason I ask is I kind of want to do a follow-up. There is someone in Space Station 13 history, which I knew once upon a time, who played on your server. A gentleman who is legend in certain circles, a Mr. George Mellons.
Yeah, George Mellons was a terrorist. He was...
but a legendary terrorist, sir.
Yeah, right up there with... I just came up with an answer to best trader I've ever seen. Right up there with my good friend Lord Doom. The unholy acts those two could pull off. It was like we were just regular schlubs playing this game, and these motherfuckers were in the Matrix.
Yeah. So, give us... I mean, I know some of their doings. I've seen some of their doings, along with Cuban Pete, which you may remember. The man who could bomb a station in 15 minutes, no matter... the reason many stations have a max cap now, Cuban Pete. So, here's my question, and I think this is good. For our viewers, I really want, or listeners in this case, I really want them to understand this. It's very important, very critically important. Give us a few examples as to why these men are legend. Just because if these people get a big head and go, oh, I managed to kill 3 or 4 people, I want them to know that they stand on the shoulders of monstrous giants.
Okay, so I can't. I think this was Lord Doom. Yeah, it would have been Lord Doom that I saw do this. He had been arrested by security for the usual reasons. He didn't have any special gear. He had been an assistant that round. But what he does is he whips off his jumpsuit and starts running. Security guy chases him. So he shits, because at the time shit was still a thing.
Yeah.
He shits, jukes to one side. The security guard steps in the shit and goes flying, because it makes you slip. He goes flying. Lord Doom runs over to him, kicks him unconscious, hides in a shrub, just barely gets his handcuffs off when another security officer spots him and takes off after him. So Lord Doom, now naked, because when you ditch your jumpsuit, it empties your pockets and everything, and just takes off running toward an airlock. Runs in front of it, opens the airlock, shits on the floor, steps out of the way. Phew! Off goes the security officer on an outer space adventure. At this point, because he's got his hands free, reaches down, picks up his own shit, and beats the third security officer to death with it.
That is amazing and horrifying.
We called it the Brown Gambit. It was... To this day, you could still kind of do it with piss, but you've really got to plan for it.
It's not the same. And speaking of that, what happened with poo?
Okay, we removed poo for 3 major reasons. Each admin has a different lie for which of the 3 reasons is the main one.
Right.
Reason 1 was we realized we had some players who didn't really care about the shit jokes.
Right.
Some players who really loved the shit jokes.
Yeah.
And then we had some shit fetishists.
Oh.
All they would do every round, they'd strip naked, eat everything they could find, fill up the tank, and shit on the floor. Pick up the shit, throw it at each other. So they're rubbing the shit all over themselves. Some assistant stumbles by. They beat him to death with the shit. But they bring him back so that they can feed him the shit, so that he'll puke out the shit, so they can start picking up the puke in cups and throwing the puke around with the shit. And by this time, somebody's pissed on the floor. And it was I mean, I like an aristocrat's joke as much as the next guy.
Of course.
But they were doing it every round. And it was to the point where this is no longer something they think is funny. This is getting into some worrying what happened to you as a child cases. So yeah, that's reason number 1. Reason number 2 is that it was just it had overstayed its welcome. It was turning what could be a much better game into the game about poop. And reason number 3 is we did it to piss off the player base.
I understand. What is the best and or favorite round of Space Station 13 you've witnessed so far, and why?
I like to believe that these 2 players had no contact to plan this. But this one round, it was absolutely boring in every other aspect. But these 2 assistants and I looked at their keys. I had never seen these 2 people interact like an OOC or an IRC or whatever. One of the assistants starts just yapping on the radio Shakespeare. Romeo and Juliet. That's the balcony scene. Romeo let down.
Oh, of course.
Let down your hair.
Let down your hair. Wow, I am stoned. And the other one just immediately fills in Juliet. and just the giddy shit covered homicide happening in the station, and here are two strangers doing Romeo and Juliet over the radio while the station descends into madness around them. And that was just such a moment of zen.
So, Romeo and Juliet. But soft what light through yonder window breaks.
Yeah, but I mean, the regular humdrum chaos of the round was still happening.
Right.
So it was like, Romeo, Romeo, honk, honk, wherefore art thou scream? But soft.
It is the
fart
east
noise.
and Juliet is the sun explosion.
Yes.
Okay, no, I just wanted to make sure that I understood the gravity of that madness.
It was like somebody slipped Shakespeare the bad acid.
The brown acid.
Mm-hmm.
What is the best sort of player for your station? And the worst?
The best sort of player for our station is a player who is who's not really concerned about winning or necessarily even surviving the round, but is just there to experience the madness and further it. To appreciate the barman just setting a glass on the counter and a mechanic running by taking a swig, turning blue, screaming in Turkish, and exploding. Just to witness this madness and get in there and just immediately start writing incredibly bizarrely coded laws and uploading them to the AI, or starting a group chat to harass the clown via their PDA, or trying to figure out what vile stuff you can pour into a fire extinguisher and still have it work. That to me is to just appreciate the chaos and want to perpetuate it. That's the perfect player. The worst kind of player is the one that wants to win.
So what is your favorite event and why?
Ass day, easily.
The Purge.
Because yeah, that's basically what it is. Because it's the one day a month that, other than the rules against the server, so no bigots, don't be a sex weird, don't crash things on purpose, stuff like that, no other rules apply. So it just goes absolutely bonkers. And I actually watch about half again as many rounds as I even touch, because I mean the admins, we tried to slow down on the fun buttons during the rest of the month too, so ass day we can take a couple rounds and let it all hang out, and just the creative nonsense people will do to each other. Somebody was using one of my favorite tricks where you cut the disposal pipe, throw three crates of glassware in there and flush it, and this will turn the botanist into a pile of gibs. Somebody had worked out one of the mechanics teleporter things, and was standing there by the lever, so that when this person spawned in the middle of 4 tables so they couldn't move, he'd yank the lever and just completely annihilate them. It was assembly line perfection.
It's beautiful. What is your least favorite event and why?
It's hard to really say, because if there is an event, something happening, then I dig it, because the creativity, there's always something to grab hold. It's the non-events that stick out to me. It's like
the spontaneous.
Okay. Yeah.
That which cannot be planned but just happens.
Exactly. But it's when nothing happens, or when what's happening is really, really regimented. Like, it's the middle of the night and the only people logged in are, some power tripping kid who knows how everything must be done, and 4 other people who, for whatever reason, follow the orders perfectly. And it's like, my God, you're not making this a game. It's like a job.
All right. I mean, I understand that, but it's also a little alien because I'm playing it from the perspective of a player.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I get that, okay, if you want a spaceship simulator, I guess, but Why Space Station 13 for that, though?
Speaking of the larger community, perhaps, do you play Space Station 13 on what servers, what jobs, and why?
I actually only play on Goon Station, mainly because I'm just so used to, man, damn it, my grand scheme that I've been preparing for like half an hour has gone to shit because I can't find a screwdriver. I'm just so used to being able to open up, a menu and spawn a screwdriver so I can get back to my shenanigans. Even though I know I could just go and get my damn screwdriver from tool storage or whatever, I miss that too much. And on other servers, I'm really careful about stepping on toes because I don't honestly I don't intimately know their rule sets.
Right.
So I'd worry about, okay, am I going to somehow spark a server invasion because PopeCrunch screwed up?
Yeah, no, I understand. Everything you do is going to have a little extra weight on it.
Yeah.
Here's a good question, I think. What is the most rewarding part of being an admin on your server?
Probably when when you see a trader who they just stumble into a bad situation, they've stuck themselves. They're not being caught by another player, but they've fucked up, and they send an admin help saying, "I'll make you proud. Just get me out of this," and then they swing for the fences. Just that reign of that beautiful chaos, that reign of terror unfolding, and to know that that's happening because this guy figured, wow, I got an extra shot when I didn't need one. I'm gonna go for it and make him proud. And it's like, Godspeed, you vile thing, you.
Glorious. In your
It's a bit like being God. Go and kill in my name, and they do.
As long as you don't have to sacrifice your own children. So, in your opinion, what is the very best Space Station 13 map of them all, and why?
Either CogMap 1, because I really appreciate the layout, or old school Donut 1, where all of research was off on its own little satellite, and there was sometimes a trader objective to blow up a nuke that would only destroy that satellite.
Mm-hmm.
Donut 1 that's where I made my bones. That's what the map was changed to shortly after I started playing. That's the map that was active when I got admin. It was that to me is still stuck in my heart as old school Space Station 13, but it doesn't exist anymore.
Perhaps in time.
Yeah.
Now, before I get into the final few questions, which are usually rapid fire, I want to sidestep for a moment. Are you ready, sir?
Lay it on me, baby.
All right. You are known in the Space Station 13 community for having a hilarious and spontaneous response to ban appeals. This one stood out. Now, I can read it if you don't want to. But
I can get it.
Stand by. No, I will gladly link you. I had to look it up. There it is. This is a ban appeal that was filed 7/24 of 2015 at 6:41 a.m. The response begins with, "Let's play a game. It'll be fun."
It'll be fun. This is a thought experiment. Nothing here should be taken as a threat, offer, or suggestion that any of the acts about to be described will ever happen. Okay? Okay. Let's say, for the sake of this intellectual construct, that we happen to live in the same town. And we're in the same social circles, but weren't necessarily friends, just barely acquainted. Because I'm a suave motherfucker, you invite me back to your place to watch Strange Days on DVD, because that movie is awesome. Totally. Go check it out. We get to your place. I excuse myself to the bathroom and vanish. After a while, you check on the bathroom, only to find a perfectly coiled turd, delicately balanced on top of the toilet seat, and I have apparently escaped out the window. Huh. Weird. Things happen, though, and you invite me over again, because seriously, that movie is so great. This time, I head to the kitchen for a snack and vanish. Investigation reveals that I've sharded in your water pitcher, turning what was once a gallon of crisp, clear Adam's ale into my own personal chowder. Also, escaped out the window again. Maybe it's just a custom of his people, you think, and invite me over again because the soundtrack for that film is remarkably great and turned me on to Macedonian folk pop. I announced that I forgot something in my car and vanished. You roll your eyes and head outside to survey the damage, only to find that I had apparently pressed my anus to your mail slot, and that I've been a good boy and eating my fiber lately, and pooped a perfect rectangle through it, like the world's foulest Play-Doh fun factory. You sigh and invite me over again, because Strange Days is an excellent piece of speculative fiction, and the idea of being able to record and play back experiences is fodder for some really great imagination. This time, I shoved past you when you opened the door, and in record time, drop a big hairy loaf in your fish tank. You almost puke on the floor while fishing it out because I'd had Mexican the night before, and your prize clownfish is picking the green onion bits out of the mess. Through gritted teeth, you invite me over again, because although she's still in a subservient role to the protagonist and doesn't necessarily pass the Bechdel test, the character of Mace is a rare example of a strong black woman in film. This time I brought a gift, a box of raisins. Excellent, you say, and shelve it for later because you're not hungry now, but you were going to make oatmeal cookies later. And oatmeal raisin cookies are proof of a kind and loving date. The DVD player is on the fritz, though, and we wind up watching 3 hours of hee-haw reruns. I take my leave, and that's when you notice that the box of raisins is instead filled with tiny blobs of painstakingly rolled tiny poops. You begin to wonder what happened to me as a child. It takes you a good half hour of psyching yourself up to pick up the phone and let me know that you got your DVD player fixed, so come on over and we'll enjoy the cinematography of Matthew Leonetti. This time I brought a bottle of wine. Let's pretend that I'm getting a little tired of coming up with wacky scenarios, and it's piss, all right? It's a wine bottle filled with piss. Maybe it's mine, maybe it isn't, but the piss provenance isn't the issue here, okay? It's just piss. A refreshing change from poo shenanigans, sure, but you're still left with a bottle of Riesling, or Riesling is crossed out with a green crayon and Peasling is written in its place, and the S is backwards. This is for reasons. I'm a writer. That's what, 6 already? 2 more? Okay. You invite me over again for reasons no sane person could even begin to speculate to, and I announce to you that I have truly changed my ways, and in fact, had hired a cleaning crew to come by earlier while you were at work and scour the place stem to stern. As much as it unnerves you to have had people in your apartment without your knowledge, and as much as it worries you that I was apparently able to let them in somehow, you have to admit that the place has never looked better. We watched the film and agree that it's one of the finest films ever made, and it's a damnable shame that James Cameron is famous for lesser films like the Terminator series, when this is clearly his masterwork. We bid each other adieu, and you head to bed happy that for once you got through an evening without any unauthorized exhaust. The next morning comes, and the apartment smells foul. It takes you 3 hours to check the place over, and you finally found that I have laid the king hell of all eggs on the filter for your air conditioning. You stare at it in silent amazement, wondering how I passed that thing and was able to walk afterward. You consider shooting it before tossing it in the dumpster because you're not used to seeing that large that is neither alive nor a stone. I call you the next morning, wanting to know if you'd like to see The Terror of Tiny Town and All Dwarf Spaghetti Western. This is the point that you suggest it's not working out. Okay, now for the experiment. At which point in the above did your suspension of disbelief falter? If it was anywhere past the first hidden poo, then you are either far more forgiving than is healthy, or you might have some issues with self-esteem. And yet, after repeatedly making a terrible mess of the place and making sure we don't want you around anymore 7 separate times, you still expect to be invited over for coffee and discussion of Ralph Fiennes and Vincent D'Onofrio's best film?
So, you take a certain pride in responding to these requests.
I really do. I take such pleasure in it.
I think that's worth an upvote, if not a round of applause and your own aplomb. Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
What is the most rewarding part of being an admin?
On the rare occasion when one of my shenanigans or projects or gimmick rounds is received really well by the crew, and the last things in out of character chat I see are people saying, wow, that was awesome, like swapping stories about what happened. It's like, I created that. Yes.
In your opinion, what of the intag roles is the very best?
Wizard. You have to be really good to play a wizard, but a truly skilled wizard can do more damage to the station than anything else. I mean, a syndicate agent can only annihilate the station. A traitor can only kill you.
Right.
A good wizard can reach into your immortal fucking soul and hurt it.
Side question. Where did wizards in Space Station 13 come by? Because I know in the history of Space Station 13, you have the creation of things, and then it goes to Goon Station, and it branches out from there. Is this a Goon Station thing?
Oh yeah, this is absolutely a Goon Station thing. I mean, we had space wizards before other code bases even existed.
So where does that come from? Thousands of hours of 2nd and 3rd edition D&D?
I think it comes mostly from mental illness and substance abuse, honestly, like so many of our good ideas. I wasn't around for its creation, but at the time Wizard was added, it was just that knot of people lurking in an IRC channel, half the time drunk, bouncing these fever dream ideas off each other and finding the diamond in the nugget of turd. And it just polished it and just got this beautiful madness out of some sort of shared dementia.
If you could say one thing to new players on your station, what would it be?
Run.
Okay.
Run.
No, I understand.
That and read the rules.
Okay.
And always trust the class.
I asked this of goons. Why the goddamn monkeys?
So the players can have something to beat up that has a chance of beating them up, but they're not going to get yelled at for it. Also, they're kind of cute little
Question. Shitty Bill, the shit person on your group, said the reason that monkeys were so fucking horrible was because, quote, fuck genetics, end quote. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. I used to really hate on chemistry. I don't know if you've heard the potato chips and water story.
No, please, please.
Oh my God, the potato chips and water story. Okay. So this was a few years back. I'd been an admin for a while. The triple piss thing was still petering out. And the chemists were being real assholes this round, just blowing up everything, melting whatever they didn't blow up, and just causing all kinds of chaos. So I told them to knock it off. They didn't knock it off. I jibbed them, and some more chemists joined and just picked up right where they left off. So fine, fuck you. I delete the chemical dispensers. They figure out weird combinations of burritos and hot chocolate and candy bars, and they still are causing hell with the stuff in the vending machines. So I get rid of all the vending machines on the station, and I issue a station alert saying, fine, no more Happy Elf hot chocolate for anyone because fuck chemistry. And they were still blowing things up, and I couldn't figure it out. All they had on them was a glass of water and a bag of potato chips.
My God.
I searched their inventory. I figured maybe they ingested something and they're just getting little bits of it from their blood. Nope, nothing in their bloodstream. All they had is potato chips and water. They were somehow causing explosions with this. I had 2 coders combing over the logs, trying to figure out how these 2 motherfuckers, these terrorists, were managing to blow shit up with potato chips and water, and we still haven't figured it out. I had a bit of a meltdown after. It was like, oh my God, what the fuck? Potato chips and water, and you assholes are still blowing shit up. What's the newspaper going to read tomorrow? Half of humanity is dead. Here's a picture of the, it looks like it was a bomb powered by a dog toy squeaker and a used Band-Aid. We've got him live on surveillance camera from a convenience store buying a stick of gum. Does he just want fresh breath, or is he coming back to finish the job? Who knows? More tomorrow if we're lucky or unlucky. I don't know anymore. Fuck. From the Associated Press.
A trusted name in media.
Yes. It's like, and thank you to the Maker's Mark Distillery for giving me the liquid courage needed to get through this troubled time. And thank you for loving Pumpkin.
I love Maker's Mark, but I will say I'm more a Bouillet man if those two are put in the same spectrum. Oh, I see. Well, time to edit this interview terribly. So I have a question, and I ask this more often these days. There seems to be a curse, a terrible and mighty curse in Space Station 13. A curse that is entirely centered around remakes. Why do they fail, do you think?
Because the weird interactions between the brain-damaged engine and our textual version of schizophrenia code interact in ways that produce utter madness, which the smarter computers and computer systems get becomes harder to replicate because this thing runs on stupid. Nothing makes any sense whatsoever. So you try to make sense of it,
right?
And the engine just can't do it. There's no engine that can handle the 4 million directions we thrash this poor server into doing. It can't be done.
I understand. So, as we are entering the end phase of the interview, I have one important question for you.
Lay it on me, boo.
Clown or mime?
Clown, man. Fuck mimes.
Good answer.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been against mimes since like before Shakes the Clown. I mean, I beat up a mime in a bathroom in Boston once. I was like 11.
Wow.
He followed me in the bathroom. You don't follow an 11-year-old boy into the bathroom. You just don't do that.
I understand. I understand. As we've reached the end of the interview, do you have anything you want to communicate to the Space Station 13 community? Shoutouts, apocalyptic warnings, requests, and so on. The time is yours!
I have one thing to say to the Solarian crew.
Oh no.
And it is a single word which either they won't understand or they'll read way too much into. That is the way they take all of my hints, and no matter how much I warn them about it, that is the way they always will take my hints. And that single word is calendar.
Oh dear. I bet the Soul IRC is going to explode.
Yep.
Beautiful. Thank you for joining me, sir. I thank you for your time, and I thank the listeners for your time. Leave an upvote and a subscribe on the way out. And remember to set your notifications. But YouTube will turn them off because that's the consolidation of media. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Stolen things, oh, men, the quartermaster.